This is Scott Becker with the Becker Business and the Becker Private Equity Podcast. We're thrilled today to be talking healthcare private equity with Holly Buckley. Holly heads up the healthcare practice at McGuireWoods. She also helps to chair the McGuireWoods Healthcare Private Equity Conference. We're going to talk today about healthcare private equity strategies, areas, what she's watching, and a lot more. Holly, before we get started, I'm going to ask you to give us on the front end a quick note about the McGuireWoods Healthcare Private Equity Conference in April. I'll probably ask you to wrap up with that as well, and then we'll go through the substance of the conversation about what you're seeing in the healthcare private equity world currently. Holly, take it away. Tell me a little bit about the Healthcare Private Equity Conference.
Thank you, Scott, and appreciate the opportunity. So McGuireWoods is on its, 22nd year of its Healthcare Private Equity and Finance Conference. This year, as with the last few years, we'll be in Chicago at the Ritz on April 29th and 30th. We'll have about 1,000 folks participating, including investors, lenders, and operators. This year, we have Michael Lewis, the author of Moneyball, as our keynote speaker. And the agenda is really shaping up to be, I think, one of the best ever, with tracks around provider services, pharma services and life sciences, operations, and innovation. So really excited about the event. Anyone's welcome to reach out to me. We're currently putting the final touches on panels. If anyone would like a speaking slot, they're welcome to reach out either on LinkedIn or by email at hbuckley@mcguirewoods.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And let me use that to tee up what you're seeing in healthcare private equity right now and in the deal market. To start with, what's actually working in healthcare private equity right now? What strategies seem to be working? Are there things that seem not to be working?
Yeah, happy to talk about it. And the good news is we are seeing really solid deal flow. So good news is the trend from last year of being busier, the second half of the year seems to be continuing on in 2026. I would say in terms of the things that are working, and I always say things that sound kind of too basic, but it's people who are doing things well seems to be working. So you can no longer just kind of go in, buy a bunch of fragmented things and rely on arbitrage and multiple expansion. It really needs to be more focused on specialization, operating expertise, the folks who really know the business and have a thesis for what they're going to do with the business seem to be doing much better than folks who are just trying to kind of cobble together assets. So I would say really good discipline around add-ons and pricing, multiples, and then kind of having a real value thesis seems to be working a lot more than kind of relying on the upward trend and the rising tides floating all boats.
Thank you. And talk about what's not working in private equity, if anything specifically you see is not working.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's generally kind of the lack of focus and where there's not true infrastructure. It's more a focus on cost cutting and just kind of a straight synergy play without a real thesis around transformation. And so I think those platforms are the ones that have really struggled where there is not maybe, we're going to be very careful with things like geographic concentration because there can be antitrust concerns with that, but where there's maybe really disparate assets, either geographically or focus-wise, and not a real way to kind of bring them together in a way that makes sense and adds value.
And that makes sense. When you look at subsectors that are emerging as better opportunities, what do you see people looking at subsectors and other subsectors that people are quietly backing away from?
Yeah, I think some of the things that we're still seeing really strong interest in that are doing well are a lot of behavioral health assets. I think even with the Medicaid cuts, I think there's still a strong interest in behavioral health and outpatient mental wellness. I think there's really good demand in that sector. It's got really strong fundamentals, and there's good opportunity with technology and infrastructure to be able to really add value in that space. We're also seeing strong interest in physician services where the platform is kind of very stable in terms of referral networks, and the platform is not highly dependent on kind of highly compensated physicians. So more like kind of dermatology, dental, value-based primary care. We're still seeing good fundamentals in those sectors. And then I would say where there's a strong thesis around a movement of care to lower cost venues, such as hospital to outpatient with surgery centers, endoscopy suites, as well as hospital to home, such as home health and hospice. We're seeing really good trends there.
Thank you very, very much. And then Holly, let me ask you another question. When you see top quartile healthcare private equity firms, what separates them from other firms? What do you see that they do really well compared to others?
Yeah, I think it goes through the entire life cycle of the platform, from the initial thesis building all the way through exit. So from the initial thesis building, it's really looking at what problem are we trying to solve and what value are we looking to create for the platform and the health system kind of at the outset. And so then it's being disciplined in terms of approach of identifying targets and winning deals. On the hold period, it is the clinical and the operations credibility. And so a lot of the firms that I see doing things really well have really good operating partners. They often increasingly now have in-house consulting arms where they are able to provide transformation and consulting services in a really efficient manner by using in-house very talented resources. And these are often incredibly talented folks who have come out of big consulting shops who are now doing this as kind of an in-house consulting organization to really execute on that thesis and accelerate the plan that was developed during the thesis building. And then it's having a constant eye towards exit throughout the whole period, making sure they are executing and then telling the story in all of their documentation and in everything that they're doing. And that each decision that they're making is with an eye towards the ultimate exit. And so there's not a scramble at the end in terms of how do we get this thing ready. It's been happening all along as a matter of process. And then obviously the exit itself also needs to be super disciplined and well executed. And so it's really just a cradle to grave strategy in terms of how they grow and mature the platform.
Fantastic. And so taking us back, I know Michael Lewis is speaking at the Healthcare Private Equity Conference, brilliant commentator, author, thinker. Anything else you're particularly excited about? I know I saw you lining up some of their keynote chats. I know I see lots of subjects being covered: revenue cycle, operations, technology, outpatient. Anything else top of mind that you're very excited about?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Scott, I'm very excited to hear you speak at the conference. That's always a highlight for everyone. But I think we're really focused this year, as always, but especially this year, on really great networking opportunities. And so I know a lot of the folks that come to the meeting really do so that they can meet with colleagues and network with them and hopefully work on deals. And so we're really excited for those opportunities. And I think the other thing is just really with our more robustly built out life sciences track, there's going to be great opportunities, as always, on the provider services side, but really for those also wanting to take a deeper dive on life sciences, we're going to have much more robust content and attendees this year in that space. So really just the whole thing is going to be fantastic, but happy for anyone to reach out with questions and to chat about what their role could be.
Holly Buckley, Chair of McGuireWoods Healthcare, Chair of also the McGuireWoods Healthcare Private Equity Conference. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Becker Private Equity and the Becker Business Podcast. Just fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.